Welcome to What's Your AI Problem? The show where real educators and leaders show us the one AI move that changed their work. Hi, I'm Dr. Jamiylah Jones, and today's problem is one every school leader is wrestling with right now. Students already have AI in their pockets. So how do you get them using it to improve their own work instead of letting AI do the work for them? Today, I'm sitting down with a principal who figured out how to turn that into strategy. So let's get into it. Thank you, Mr. Simpson, for joining us today. So, in a sentence or two, tell me about who you are and your school.
My name is Alvin Simpson, principal at High School for Teaching Professions, located in the Bronx. We are a school, despite the name saying teachers, we are more than just a teaching school. We provide many leadership roles and responsibilities for students and developing into becoming productive leaders in society, their communities overall.
Nice, nice. So, tell me about AI use in your school, whether it's with your teachers or it's with your students. What has the AI use been in your school building?
So in the past, in recent years, it's been more of cat and mouse, where students are using AIs to submit their assignments and teachers are trying to figure out how. Before it used to be copy and paste to see if they just copied it from the internet. Then with AI made it much more challenging. So teachers would figure their kids were cheating because there's a difference, a marked difference in the work product done in the classroom and what they submit when they work from home.
So, did they go from writing at the high school level to now graduate level work?
They went from, according to our teachers, from middle school level to graduate level.
All right. So, what would you say now has been the biggest problem that you've had in schools? And how did you think about leveraging AI to help you solve that problem?
So biggest challenge, one of the things that's really important to me is that students are getting feedback. So the iterative process, they submit their work, teachers give them feedback, and they make revisions. We submit based on the feedback they're given. Well, teachers on average will have anywhere from 120 to 150 students. So collecting work, the time it will take them, even the simplest task, to grade all, give feedback and resubmit, return them to students, sometimes it takes 2 weeks. By that time, the relevance would have passed.
So, it wasn't timely. The
Was it
feedback
timely?
wasn't timely.
Yes,
And by the time they probably received the feedback, the teacher probably moved on to an entirely different topic, I would assume.
correct. And the important part of feedback is that students are revising their work based on the feedback. So if it's no longer relevant to what's being covered, then why should the students resub?
Yeah.
And where would the teacher actually see the improvement from that feedback?
So, it's safe to say that before AI was here in your school, teachers spent a lot of time grading hundreds of papers, giving feedback, and that process was slow. And you don't really know if the students applied that feedback in a way that would really have helped them.
Correct. So in looking at, again, the advent of AI becoming more commonplace, how can we actually use this to support student revision, the revision process, and have them submit their own work product based on feedback they're getting? So in piloting, I've had a couple of teachers pilot this particular piece in which they upload the rubric, with established rubric, which the students are aware of, and this rubric is shared with the students.
Okay.
So the students are able to do their work based on the prompt, do the task. They submit it using one of the large language models and ask for feedback based on the rubric with the word that's there. Now, the students doing that can then make the adjustments, the revisions, the be more accurate based on this, and then look at it. So it's still their own words. It's them getting feedback. And now the teacher can actually utilize time to provide even higher leverage
Nice.
feedback,
Nice.
more than just a procedure piece.
So, you want to think of it like students are now leveraging this AI as a writing coach, whereby a teacher would give them a writing assignment with a rubric. The students will have, let's say, a first draft. And instead of meeting with the teacher and the teacher trying to grade it and conference with them and give them this level of feedback, you're encouraging the students to utilize the AI as a writing coach to give that feedback.
Exactly.
So how do you know the kids just don't use it to cheat and just have it rewrite everything in this nice poised essay?
So the first portion of the assignment is actually done in class.
Okay.
So the teachers are getting the original work product.
All right.
And so it's starting from there. And part of it is also encouraging the students. I think educating the students on how to properly use
Yes,
AI.
exactly.
That's the important piece. It's not some mysterious thing to be left in the corner. It is a tool that to be used to help enhance their work, not to replace their thing.
All right. So I want you to tell me, what has been the transformation? What have you seen on the teacher's end? And what have you seen on the student's end as a result of using one of these AI models to help with the writing process?
So teachers, although hesitant again, because the first task was, oh, this is something I'm not that comfortable with. It's going to be more work on my end. How do I know it's the authentic work? And it's putting these things in place. So starting by simply by, hey, your first draft is in class. So the students are now used to that. They're not being judged solely based on that particular piece. So now using AI to help get feedback that will help improve their work product. So what
I
we're
see.
seeing is that students are getting more feedback. The quality of work being submitted to the teacher on this on draft is higher
Okay.
because now the students are coming with that feedback. So now when the teacher is using that high leverage piece, or even though high leverage feedback for that next step to bring up the quality of the essay, the next piece of that is that the students' first draft, they've seen progress and improvement because they are getting these consistent feedback from AI. They now incorporated this in their initial writing. So now
Okay.
the initial draft is of higher quality than.
I'm also curious, how did you train the students on the proper prompts to use to get the feedback that's going to be targeted specifically to them?
So this was more of an exploratory piece with the teacher and the students in the classroom. The teacher to take them through different exercises in terms of
Okay.
proper prompting.
Okay, nice. And what are the students saying? Do they feel that the AI models are actually helping them write, become better writers? Do they feel that this timely feedback is more beneficial than meeting with their teachers multiple times?
Some of our students would prefer to get the initial feedback from their teachers
Yeah.
because it's been 10 years of them.
Exactly.
That's what they're used to. But the students who have embraced it have seen that difference, and the teachers also appreciate it. So the tide is turning. So you're seeing that there's a good percentage of students who are going to that for the initial piece. But most importantly, they're not using it to replace their thinking. So they're not taking the prompt and throwing the AI and just copying the assignment out. They're actually doing their first draft nice.
So has it changed the culture, whether it's school wide or just division wide in your English department with a certain population of students? Do you see a change in culture?
I see there is a change.
Okay. So what is that change that you're seeing?
We see actually more work being submitted,
Okay, nice.
one, and that there is a greater improvement, just not just in the classroom, but even our most recent state testing results have shown that there is an improvement in the essay writing portion.
Okay. So it's safe to say that AI can be beneficial if leveraged the right way for not just students, but also teachers. Have you heard teachers saying that they are saving time now with grading because students are now using this as a writing coach?
Teachers are having more time to spend on giving students the high leverage feedback that they need.
Okay. All right. I like that. So I want you to walk us through how you trained your students and teachers to utilize artificial intelligence as a writing coach. Can you show us?
Yes. Take the original work that he or she has written, as an example here, and put as an attachment, upload what the assignment and the rubrics are, and then use a prompt similar to this. The prompt is very important, and I strongly suggest that the teacher work with the student to develop a standard framing for the prompt. So the important pieces here is that do not use your own idea for writing. use my teachers. Do not rewrite my work. Do not give me sentences to copy. Your job is to help me improve myself. So as you can see here, that key points to the prompt. Tell me one thing my draft already does well based on the rubric. Find 2 to 3 weakest spots according to the rubric. For each one, ask me a question that helps me to figure out, fix myself. Do not fix it for. Go through each row of the rubric and tell me if I met, partly met, or missed it, and why. And by telling me the single first revision I should make to move up on the rubric. So this is feedback from the AI based on the prompt, the work that was submitted along with the rubric. Let's see. One thing that went well, you met the assignment structure. The essay has an introduction with a clear position, 3 body paragraphs, a counterclaim paragraph, and the conclusion. That matches the assignment and the organization expectations in the rubric. Now, this is the other key feedback is identifying the weakest points and saying why, providing evidence. And these are important pieces because this is where the student is going to improve his or her work by the question being asked. So it's not just saying, this is missing, why is this important? Whenever writing any claim, you always want to ensure that you are putting evidence in. So we'll just go down the list. As you see, 1 weak spot was evidence, 1 weak spot was analysis. And as you can see, there's a question that comes there. After each piece of evidence, have you explained why that evidence proves schools should start later? Or have you mostly on to the next idea? And the third weak spot was counterclaim. Now, again, using the rubric check, content and analysis was met. Amount of evidence, partly met. The rationale being provided is important. It's not just telling the student whether the method or not. It's the reason, because this is the feedback they would get from the teacher. And this is the feedback they'll use to revise the work. And now, specifically on the revision issue. Again, put another prompt in based on the information and the feedback. So it's also providing the students with places to look to get additional information for the research. The important piece, students getting real feedback that they can utilize. And the idea is students doing their own work, not just using AI to replace their thinking. This is them being able to see what they need to improve, being able to work on it, and then being able to enact that. And the expectation is, as we have seen, is that over the course of time, you're going to see that first draft from the students starting to have a lot of these evidence that were initially weak points. And the gradual improvement. It is not replacing the teacher. This is just taking one load off the teacher, because the teacher will still have to give the final feedback and revision to students after a while. But instead of students waiting for teachers to provide them with that initial feedback so they could continue working and revising their draft, they would have gotten a step in. They're also building self-confidence. They're learning to be more self-directed and improving their tasks. So the teacher can then be able to provide greater specific feedback, high leverage feedback specifically, and students will be able to produce higher quality work with the teacher being able to use his or her own time more efficient. Now, after completing the first round of revision based on the feedback, the student will upload his or her revised work and ask AI for additional feedback. So you look here, it says, this is a significant improvement based on what I can read. You've addressed the biggest issues from the rubric. You replace the vague phrase, studies show, with named organization and more specific evidence. And it can additionally provide feedback here. So listing what the student has improved and still giving the student additional feedback in how to continue to improve his or her work. So it's a combination of telling the student where he or she has improved, what still needs improvement, and then the student can revise the work once more and get that feedback before submitting it to the teacher. I'll reiterate that you want to ensure that prompt is developed. The teacher works with the students in developing that initial prompt because the wording of the prompt is very important. You want to ensure that the AI is not being prompted to do the work for the student. It's not being asked to replace the student's work. It is clear identifying the student where his or her strong points are in the work, the ways to take to improve it, and then provide them with next steps. And they can do that multiple times before submitting that work to the teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson, for showing us that. I think that this is really powerful. Is there anything that you want to say to the school leaders and teachers and educators around the world about leveraging AI?
I would say that the most important thing is that we can't approach AI with fear. We need to approach it with understanding. How can we use the tool to best support population that we have? There's no one size that fits all. So looking at what are the first simple steps that we can take that will improve the quality of instruction and support that the students receive.
I want to thank you, Mr. Simpson, for taking the time with us today to show us how your school and your teachers and your students are leveraging AI in the writing process and the revision process. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Now, that's one leader showing us how AI was leveraged to solve a problem in his school. Teaching students how to responsibly use AI as a writing coach is something teachers and students can properly be trained to do. I'm Dr. Jamiylah Jones, and I will see you in the next episode.